Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of DTV, the Digital Transformation Channel. My name is Leila Modarres, and I have with me here today David Rizzo, who is the VP of Product Development at Compuware. Welcome to DTV, David.
Thank you.
Great to have you. So let's start very simply. Can you tell us a little bit about Compuware and what you guys do?
So Compuware, as our tagline is, the mainframe software partner for the next 50 years. We're a mainframe software vendor. We provide tools that are used by developers who develop mainframe applications to make their lives easier. And that's our goal, is to give them tools to use to be able to develop on the mainframe. Also, mainstream the mainframe, make it part of, as it is, part of the enterprise, but look like all the other platforms that large enterprises have to deal with.
So, and David, you've been in the epicenter of, developing IT applications for quite some time now. Can you summarize or shed some light on some of the changes that you've seen during that time or during your tenure?
In general, the biggest thing I guess that we would say is the internet came about.
Oh yes, that.
That little thing that
Yeah.
has transformed a lot of what we do. If I look back over what I've seen and where technology has gone, the great thing about technology, and one of the things that drove me to it, is it's constantly changing. You'll always be learning. There's something new technologies coming in. Software that I wrote 20 years ago is still running today. Technologies I worked on 20 years ago don't exist today. Some of them have gone away, except for, of course, the mainframe. It's the one steady piece that's been in an enterprise, in all enterprises, for the last 50 years.
So mainframe, based on what you're saying, has been a constant. Our show, DTV, primarily focuses on, helping us better understand what different interpretations of digital transformation are, as it's, what many companies are striving to do today. So, in your opinion, what form does digital transformation take in the mainframe world?
So that's an interesting question, and the answer is really digital transformation in most of large enterprises in the world that most people say is actually driven by the mainframe and is backed by the mainframe. So when you think of things such as ATMs, 30 years ago, if you wanted money from a bank, you went into a bank teller, you asked them for money, they went on to a system which was a mainframe, they checked your balance, they gave you money. Moving forward in digital transformation came ATMs, and now we have mobile applications. Every time somebody uses a mobile application to check their bank balance or credit card balance, they're touching a mainframe, and that information is coming from a mainframe because it is the system of record for very large enterprises and those large companies that we deal with as individuals every day. And they process those millions and billions of transactions every single day. Mainframes actually process more transactions in a day than there are Google searches and tweets that go out.
And so what sort of companies does Compuware work with? Is it primarily enterprises? And I guess the second part of that question is, how are they addressing digital transformation, and how is that impacting what you guys are doing?
Compuwares customer base is Fortune 1000 companies, so it's your largest banks, insurance companies, industry, retail, governments around the world, federal, state, local governments in many countries around the world. So those are the customers that Compuware has, and we're helping them. I use the banking example because everybody does it. We have many banks that are our customers as well. But when you look at their digital transformation, they're trying to keep up with, again, 30 years ago, the number of tellers that were accessing data was finite, and they could predict how many transactions were going to happen because it was a finite number. Today, that number is exponential, and it can't be defined for any given period of time because as we are a 24/7 world, people are constantly accessing information, so they have to be able to scale up and scale down based on that demand.
Right.
So the mainframe being the back end of all, essentially most or if not all of the data in the world, that demand that's coming through new technologies. Those companies have to have the demand to keep the modern interface, if you will, web, mobile, working, and they also have to keep the back end, which is where Compuware comes in to help them not only keep the back end going and update those applications, but also bridge the gap between both and providing integrations with different tools that are used to span multiple platforms. Because years ago there were mainframe applications. They ran on mainframes and that's all they did. Today there's no such thing as a mainframe only application. It's really touching something on different platforms, and other platforms are interacting with the mainframe. So it has to be an entire enterprise and a cross-platform products and connections and integrations.
Yeah, and you enable those connections.
We enable those and we've created partnerships with many of the companies, different products, as well as our own products that fundamentally provide the ability for developers to work in a more agile DevOps methodology. Right.
And, DevOps is very core to a lot of what InfoStretch is doing, as well as testing. So I'm curious in that regard, how is application development and testing different when it comes to mainframes?
So we believe that it is not different, and it shouldn't be different. There is a lot of thought that it is different, that you have this technology that's been around for 50 years, that companies have been using and it's been sitting stagnant, and that is completely untrue.
Right.
The fact that it is running what is the world's most active enterprises and doing so many transactions a day, it's very important to the world, so it has to be the same, and that's our goal. We talk about modernizing the mainframe, and truly that is making it like any other platform, using an Eclipse-based IDE, languages like COBOL and PL1 that people talk about that are on mainframe programming languages.
Right.
It's just another language. Our programmers that come out of school today, and your younger professionals in the industry, they are working on 5, 6, 8, 10 different languages. Mm-hmm. They know many, and so COBOL is just another language. It's just about syntax, and providing tools to do that is what we attempt to do and what we provide to our customers. Testing is the same. We actually have tools that we've recently created in the last couple of years. We've introduced into the market new unit testing tools for the mainframe. So you have things that people are familiar with in Java like JUnit, and we created and developed a tool that does unit testing like that on the mainframe, so that you can do these large programs that often scare people. They think they have these very large applications, they don't know how to test them thoroughly. We're giving them a way to automatically generate unit test case as they develop the code in modern interfaces, and then they can create and have those test cases to run in the future.
So are you seeing automation become a lot more predominant?
Automation is the key to success. When you talk about moving faster, keeping up with the speed of the digital economy and digital transformation, you have to automate. You have to be able to automate any process that you can, automate testing. As you make changes, one of the major emphasis you have when you're making coding changes is make sure that you don't break anything or introduce any defects as much as you can.
Right.
It's never 100%, but the more you can do that, the better you'll be. So having that ability to create automated tests and to re-execute those tests in an automated fashion allows developers to have great confidence in the code that they're executing.
So on the topic of automation, are you also leveraging AI or seeing that become more predominant lately?
It is becoming much more predominant, and we are doing some things. We're actually going to be introducing some new technology very shortly, within the next few weeks, that is taking metrics from how developers work to be able to identify KPIs that companies can use to predict and improve developer productivity, predict quality, and help improve efficiency and velocity and overall quality for development teams. We've come up with some metrics and some ways that we've identified that we'll be able to tell a manager of a development team if you look at, here's what a good developer looks like
Mm-hmm.
based on what they've written and how they've coded, and here's what somebody who needs some improvement looks like,
Mm-hmm.
and you can take what your good looks like and help show that to those that aren't as good, and they can learn from that.
Right.
So it's teaching them the methodologies.
Right.
You know, it's like you talk about a golfer, right?
Right.
You look at how the right way to swing the club, the right way to stand, those things. It's similar with developers.
Mm-hmm.
We think of them, sometimes we refer to them as high-performing athletes.
Right.
They have to work in a certain way. They need the right tools.
At a certain pace.
At a certain pace.
Right.
And they need to work to be able to get things done efficiently and with good quality. So providing the tools, providing the metrics and the guidance that
Right.
throughout an organization they can look at and say, this is how we can improve. This is how we can improve teams, not only at the individual level, but also at a team level, how our teams are functioning and how they compare to themselves, not
Mm-hmm.
only other teams within the organization, but just that team itself,
Mm-hmm.
how they've improved over time or where
Right.
they may have slipped, and they can look back and see what they've changed that's helped them or possibly hurt them.
Yeah, and definitely metrics is a key part of it that a lot of people forget is they're, moving up that mountain, they need to track, what's working, what's not, measure and build from that. So clearly you guys you're doing that, and that's great. Very intuitive. Anything else that you think you would like to share with our audience before we let you go?
The mainframe is becoming, it's always been central to the enterprise, and there's been a lot of talk that it may go away, and it never really will go away
Right.
for those large enterprises, and it's now being embraced, integrated with the modern tool chain. And we're helping our customers do that and just helping the industry overall to recognize that. And it's exciting to see that happen while these new technology comes in, the technology that's been around but is still very modern and functioning very well. They're integrating together, they're moving forward, and it's helping for the end user, which is essentially everybody in the world because of our digital world and our digital economy. Everybody is using this technology and touched by it every day. So it's good to see that people are benefiting from that, and we're able to help.
Yeah, absolutely, and great feedback. Thank you so much for your time, and we, David, and we look forward to part 2 of this. Let's learn more about what's next, and this concludes our episode of DTV. Thank you, David Rizzo.
Thank you very much.
I want my DTV!